Hey everybody, what is going on? This is One from the Byte That team, and at this time I want to present a very special guest because if you're a fan of the WWE, which I would hope you are if you listen to the podcast, he is a former WWE superstar, one half of the team known to the world as Cryme Tyme, has his brand new book, Damn Why Did I Write This Book, already available. I want to welcome at this time, thank you for being here, Mr. JTG. How you doing, man?
Thank you for having me, man. Everything is great.
It's awesome. I know you have a book that just came out. It's available right now. Did get a chance to read it before the interview, and you touch on a lot of stuff that we as wrestling fans, we always wonder about that. So right off the bat, on behalf of the fans, everybody listening, thank you for taking a risk, because like immediately when you wrote this, you had to think some negative things may come out of this, right?
Oh, definitely. It was definitely in the back of my mind when I wrote the book. And just like what the caption says with the stick man, you just got to say, fuck it.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
What motivated you into just sitting down, writing all these things? Because it's like a memoir. It's like capturing 8 years of your life in a very interesting way.
Yeah, I just wrote about specifically the heat. I didn't want to do an autobiography. I didn't want to do my entire time with the WWE. I wanted to give fans the juicy material, what everybody wants to hear. They really don't know too much about heat, so I wanted to give them a glimpse of the subculture world of the wrestling business. And what motivated me to write this book throughout the years, with the WWE and even on the indie circuit, wrestlers' pastimes is to tell stories.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, I've been telling these stories, and there's a lot more. So there's definitely going to be a part 2 or 3. I just shortened it up for the first one.
And it's really good because you cut right to the grain, man.
Oh yeah, I just went straight to the juicy part. I told these stories, and I get the same reaction every single time. Hey man, you need to get this on paper. You need to write a book. And I'm like, I would say, come on man, cut it out. And they're like, no, seriously, people will pay to read this. I'm like, all right. And then the back of my head one day, I was driving, and then I just said, you know what? Let's do it. Fuck it. I'm going to write this book.
This book talks about the heat, all these things that you gather during your career. But of course, there's always a beginning. There's always that kid in you that wants to become a wrestler. So what really made you get into wrestling?
Growing up, man, my mother was a big wrestling fan. My mom would take me and my older sister to Madison Square Garden when it would run every month. And we would be there every weekend. And it was kind of like a tradition, in my family. And then I just grew up loving wrestling. I was definitely passionate about it. And then my mom was a big fan, so she definitely supported me, when I was training and going through the struggle. Like, you can't be a professional wrestler if you don't have somebody supporting you that's behind you, giving you like, you could do it. And that's what she instilled at me at a very young age, that I could do anything. So I got to give a big shout out to Mama JTG.
Was there anybody else in your family that was maybe thinking, yeah, that's not the best route, maybe becoming a doctor or something like that?
There's a lot of that, even when I was in high school, when I came out the closet to say that I was going to be a wrestler, because at the time when I was in high school, senior year, everyone's picking their colleges. They want to go to the Army and what sport, they want to get scholarships and all of this. All that to me was nonsense. It's like, I want to be a professional wrestler. I was scared to say it, but senior year, I was just like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Some people looked at me like I was crazy. Family members looked at me like I was crazy. But my mom, as long as she didn't think I was crazy, at the time, because I definitely needed her support. And I did it.
No, and it's interesting because back then, obviously, we're thinking maybe Attitude Era or something like that. But I was reading the book. Macho Man is one of your big inspirations. Of course, back in the day, wrestlers were especially larger than life, over the top. So I can imagine when you say you want to become a wrestler, people are thinking maybe, oh, you're not like 6'10", you're not 6'11". So yeah. How was that process? Did that affect you in any way?
Yeah, it definitely affected me subconsciously because, I wasn't a big guy in high school and I didn't play any sports. I was surprised I was even an athlete when I got to OVW.
Wow, man. So you get to OVW, which is, for those that don't know, a former performance center, if you will, like the NXT before the NXT, some people like to say. There's also FCW and all these things. So how was that process when you're taking so many risks, moving away from your family and all that?
For me, I just had to focus on that. I knew that I went to Louisville, Kentucky for one reason and one reason only, and that was to be a WWE superstar. It wasn't to be a wrestler. It was to be a WWE superstar. That's where a lot of people get it twisted. Like, oh, you want to be a wrestler? Like, you could be a wrestler, or you could be a WWE superstar. It's two different things. And I didn't give, like, I don't know if this is not gonna work for everybody else, but for me, I didn't give myself a plan B. I only focused on plan A, and that worked, and it worked out for me.
And how long were you in the development process before you got the call to move up?
I was in OVW. I moved to Louisville when I was 18 years old. 18 years? Yeah, I moved when I was 19 years old. 19 years old. I'm sorry, 19 years old, and then I got the call when I was 21.
Oh wow! So that was actually pretty about 3 years, 2, 3 years more or less.
Yeah, about 3 years and some months. Yeah.
I was in the podcast for about 25, and it's crazy because at around this age, back in the day, all the wrestlers were generally older, like 28, 30, 30 something. Yeah. In your case, 21, and you have a WWE contract. What's the thought process in that?
Well, I was very mature. When I moved to Louisville, I was already 19. I hadn't got Shad, my tag team partner. He hooked me up with my first apartment. And Shad, helped me grow up in a lot of ways. That was like my big brother for the last decade. Shad's been my big brother and definitely helped me grow up. Also, Elijah Burke, I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yeah.
He took me under his wing. Armando Estrada, he took me under his wing. So I had a lot of big brothers, that helped me mature faster than any other 19 or 20-year-old.
And these are all guys that sort of started at the same time. Armando obviously was with Umaga. What's the process when you see them sort of get an opportunity, but all these guys, you point out in the book, guys that you think like Tyson Kidd should get opportunities, but they don't really get that. Does that bother you?
No, because I know the system. If I didn't know the system, I didn't understand how everything worked, then it will definitely bother me mentally. But since I know how it works, I'm not surprised.
So you talk about the system. In the book, as you mentioned, you talk about the heat. Now, us as wrestling fans, once again, the heat that we know is largely from, dirt sheets. Oh, this happened with that guy. What is heat for somebody like yourself that has lived? You've been in that system for 8 years, so you know better than anybody.
What is heat? So to break it down, pretty much, it's pretty much cooties for grown-ass men. It's a dark cloud that follows you after a conflict with someone else who's higher in the totem pole, or even somebody in the same bracket as you, and it's just like nobody wants to. If it's bad enough, like let's say I had heat with a top guy, nobody in catering wants to sit next to you, nobody wants to drive next to you because they don't want heat by association or that same person. Everybody wants to be close to the top guy, get on their good side. So they're not gonna want to have any association with the person they got heat with over something that's silly or so petty. But that's just the way, again, the system is.
And how do you feel when, these guys that you sort of idolize or, look up to when you're growing up, and they're sort of at the top of this food chain, and a lot of times they have that decisive power with your future?
I know. That's when I had to wake up, and I'm glad I found that out at an early age. Is like, it was definitely, at first it was heartbreaking. Then I understand it was a business. It's hard to explain, how to try to articulate it, but it was definitely heartbreaking. That's the name of the chapter, Heart. That's the one you're referring to?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because you're talking in one of the chapters about, this person that you idolized, a legend in the business, and obviously sometimes they pull you aside, and I can't even imagine, like, you bring up 5-year-old JTG, what would he would have thought in that time or something?
Oh, yeah, he would definitely cried in the corner.
Yeah.
That day, it was just that day too. It was just like everything was going so right, and then a big record scratch.
So you're backstage, say it Raw, SmackDown. You go overseas. When you start to get this heat, based on everything you described, how do you keep yourself motivated?
You keep yourself motivated because there's a end result. Well, I had an end result. It never manifested. You in the tag team, I wanted to go the same route as my idol Bret the Hitman Hart. He was in a very great tag team, legendary
Hart
tag
Foundation,
team,
yeah.
Hart Foundation. And I was like, I'm gonna go the same route. I'm glad I started off as a tag team. Get a popular tag team and then go the singles route. So in the beginning of my career, I always I'm getting heat with Shad. Me and Shad are getting heat, but one day I'm gonna go solo, and I'm going to take off because, at the time, I was getting a lot of good feedback from Vince McMahon. He'll pull me to the side and be like, you got so much charisma. You have a bright future ahead of me. And when Vince tells you this, you feel like $1,000,000. Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE, when he tells you that, you feel like a rich man. You feel like you got $1,000,000 in your pocket. Like you can already see that, see the money in your bank account. Like, damn, the boss is telling me this. So when I was getting told that at a very young age, I already knew the end result. So nothing was really bothering me at the moment. I would get heat, I just lay low, and then I knew the end result. I had a vision.
All these things that you point out in the book, obviously people, you got to check it out. And the book, by the way, I want to point out, it's 99 cents. So there's no excuse not to get it. Why do you think that structure is in there? It's
a cycle, and it's never been ended. Even when I hear the agents, the old school agents, they get mad at us sometimes, the talent, for using the GPS on their phone. Like, back in my day, we had maps. It's like, what? So we don't have to use maps anymore. It's like, so it's just a cycle that's been passed down from the 70s, 80s, and it's just been kept going on and on and on, and no one put a stop to it. It's just
Do you
ridiculous.
think it's going to change over time based on everything you're seeing?
I don't think so. Nope.
Wrestling as a whole, do you see it changing throughout the times? Of course, back in the day, there wasn't social media, but in here, there's a chapter where you had a huge hand in something that happened between, pay and all these things, and it was because of social media. So is that good or bad for wrestling?
I think social media is great for the, I'm not going to say for wrestling, but it's great for the boys. If they have a disagreement, and, the route that I went, I didn't want to go that route, but, something had to be done. So social media is definitely a great platform for the talent, and I wish they would take more advantage of it.
Oh, definitely. Of course, there's some characters, like, for example, in your case, Cryme Tyme, more realistic guys can definitely benefit from that. I want to ask you, what do you think about, let's say, classic characters? You're a fan of old school wrestling. Of course, there are people like The Undertaker, who is still semi-active today. How can you see somebody like that sort of implement social media in some kind of way?
I can't even imagine Undertaker on Twitter. It's like, I can't put the two together. It's like an oxymoron. I just can't see him.
No, the reason that I bring it up is because, once again, we're very much a fan-driven podcast, and a lot of the things that people talk about wrestling is that, with social media, there's some circumstances where it's good, but it's other characters like Bray Wyatt. It just feels weird. So where's he tweeting at from backstage? He has the smoke on the screen, but then he, does he use a BlackBerry, Android? What's going on there? It's really interesting.
I can see Bray Wyatt's character using it. A message that's very eerie, and you have to decode it. I could see him using it.
I want to ask then, the travel process. You mentioned in the book that, you did have many opportunities to go overseas with the WWE. We obviously think of WWE as like Raw, SmackDown, house shows, but, at the end of the day, there's this whole process. If anything, the match itself is probably the shortest part. The travel has to take a huge toll on your body. So how was it from, starting all the way at OVW throughout the years with this extensive travel going on?
Yeah, see, with me, I was blessed never to get injured in the ring, but the traveling definitely took a toll on my body. On top of the working out, the bumps in the ring, I'll say the traveling mostly took a toll on my body than anything. And that's the thing, and that's the part that the fans don't see at all.
Yeah,
they just see the from you coming out the curtain and going back. I don't think they put much thought. I mean, they don't have to. We're there to entertain them, so they don't really think about anything else that's requested from a wrestler.
Obviously, one thing I do want to bring up is it became sort of an inside joke between wrestling fans. Your employment in the WWE, you got the release. Your first tweet was like, well, "Damn, why did I pick up that phone?" People were effectively playing with your career. People were just pointing out, "Oh, JTG has been employed for this many years. How long will it be?" Do you embrace that because in some way people are aware of you, or at some point do you go like, "Come on, like I have a family, man. Like this isn't funny."
No, absolutely. I never had a negative outlook on it. We, as performers, entertainers, we put ourselves out there for you guys' amusement, for your entertainment. I don't let it get to me or take it personal. The fans know JTG the character. They don't know Jason Paul.
Yeah.
I know how to separate the two. JTG is here to entertain the fans, point blank. And so when that happened, I'm gonna keep that was a chapter in my life. I didn't expect to be a professional wrestler my whole life.
One of the things that you did do after your release from the WWE, there's this video that went viral immediately. Wrestling isn't wrestling. WWE had to acknowledge it, even though it had a lot of swearing, even though it sort of, it was the video that everybody was like, no, there's no way they will acknowledge this guy, but then they put him backstage and everything. What do you think about a video like that breaks down wrestling to wrestling just doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, but that's why we love it?
Exactly. It takes you out of reality for that. How long is it now? 3 hours?
Yeah, exactly. 3 hours.
It takes you out of reality for 3 hours. Suspend your belief for 3 hours. That's why fans love it. It's like going to a movie. When you go see, I didn't see Fast and the Furious, but I could just imagine there was some ridiculous stunts in there that made Vin Diesel look like a badass. And that's exactly what wrestling is.
Now, JTG at some point, little JTG wanted to become a wrestler. He became a wrestler. Did that affect you as a fan? Like, did you enjoy the product when you were in it, as opposed to when you were watching growing up? In that process.
It did affect me a little bit, but I was still a fan of good storylines of a good product. Even sometimes behind the scenes, I was still marking out. That's why all wrestlers are pretty much marks to an extreme, because we got into the business. We didn't just get into the business. We were all fans at one point, and we were just courageous enough to go after and pursue it.
So another thing you were involved in was NXT Redemption. It was a show that was on, and people just did something. That's a lot of people have pointed that out. Yeah. How did you react when they said there's this NXT Redemption thing and you're going to be a pro at it?
Yeah, I remember the day very well. I got told from one of the head of talent relations, and then we all got pulled into the room. The what you call it? From head of talent, we got pulled into a room and was told, yeah, we have right now we don't have nothing for you guys, so we're gonna make you guys pros, and we want to see something out of you guys. We want to get you back on the main roster, but you got to show us some long brass ring talk. And I'm just like, man, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep doing me and show the people my personality and charisma, because that's what brought me to the dance in the first place. I didn't really change anything else different. I just had a platform now to perform, to showcase it, which was on NXT. They gave me the mic. I took advantage of it. I had fun on the mic. They gave me my own show on there, and I don't know if you had a chance to check out some of my mic work on NXT, but I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did pretty damn well.
No, it was interesting because you could feel that the script was way looser. Generally with everybody. I mean, from you, there was a Derek Bateman, who's now EC3 in TNA, and you could see all these prospects. Johnny Curtis, who's now a Fandango. How was that process when you've been doing Cryme Tyme for a couple of years in this format, Raw? That's like very structured, has all these storylines. You go to NXT Redemption, and you have a lot more freedom.
Well, when I started off with Raw, when me and Shad started our first and second year with Cryme Tyme, we also had a lot of freedom, and that's why we were able to get over with the fans, because they allowed us to be ourselves. When they started to be more strict with the script and storylines and what we can't say and what we could say, it was just like, oh man, this is not as fun anymore, and that's what took a big toll on our popularity. When they started getting more involved with what we had to do.
Obviously you were involved with pretty much everybody. When the reformed DX, you faced off against the Spirit Squad. You had your SummerSlam match against Jericho and Big Show. As somebody that grew up just wanting to be a wrestler, was there at some point where you were like, okay, yeah, this is it. What's happening right now, this can be the rest of my life?
Yeah, funny you brought that up. My old partner, Brian, who the world knows him as Abraham Washington, me and him are very, very close friends. And we were at SummerSlam. That was the when it was at the Staples Center, and we started reminiscing, like, damn, we came a long way. We came from OVW. He was working at Chili's, and I was working at the daycare at the gym. And like, we're at SummerSlam. He's like, I'm on the card, and I'm wrestling Big Show and Jericho. And then I'm just standing there, and he's talking. I almost dropped a tear, but I'm too gangster for that. So I didn't let it roll down my cheek. But yeah, I definitely had a moment there, like, damn, I'm wrestling Big Show and Jericho at SummerSlam at the Staples Center. this is mind blowing.
Just listening to you, it's great because you can tell there's always like the wrestling fan inside the wrestler, and I think that's where podcasts sort of help a lot. For example, Sheamus is a guy that's currently going as a heel, but of course we know the 18-second thing with Dana Bryan, all these things that happen. But then you listen to a podcast, and the hate just seems to go away because then you hear the person. Like right now, you have this forum. And you get to choose, you have no filter. Like, it's not like, you can't say this or you cannot. This is who you are, and, you just get to directly talk to your fans.
Yeah, man, and I love engaging with my fans. Twitter, Instagram, hit me up. I reply, I respond. I appreciate all the memes. I don't care if it's negative or bad. I'm entertained by it.
As we slowly close down, what would you say was your favorite moment?
It will have to be the match at SummerSlam with Big Show and Jericho. Just working with Jericho alone, like I mentioned in the book, he's the best in the world to work with. He's when in wrestling, there's egos. It's, oh, you can't do that. What's your finisher? Oh, that's good. Yeah, we're not doing that tonight. There's a bunch of egos in wrestling. And with Jericho, he put that aside and he does what's best for business. He makes his opponent. If he's winning, he makes his opponent, and then he beats him. Everybody is on the same playing field. He just isn't Jericho. He's just a class act. So and it was great working with him, and hopefully work with him again in the future. We'll see. I don't know.
Only time will tell. And for everybody listening, what would you say to somebody that is aspiring to become a wrestler, and to somebody that just doesn't get what wrestling is all about?
How would I explain that to them? Let me address the ones who inspire to be a wrestler. If you inspire to be a wrestler, learn to put your ego to the side, shut up and listen. If you get to learn, and learn to love shit, just love it and ask for more. That's for the inspiring wrestlers, and for the ones who don't know anything about wrestling. Professional wrestlers are one of the greatest athletes that's walking the face of this planet. We are more than just wrestlers. We are actors. We are athletes. We are models. We're bodybuilders. We're professional speakers. To build a character, you got to know how to speak. We're all of that wrapped up in one. So don't just think we're just out there just beating each other up.
So what's up with JTG now? Because in the book, obviously, you talk about the fact that this chapter came to an end. You talk a lot about Shad Gaspard. So what's up with all that?
Me and Shad are still cool. We're still great friends. Right now with me, I'm doing a lot of auditioning out here in Los Angeles. And WWE helped me prepare for that, because out here in Los Angeles, there's a lot of rejection. But I've been prepared for that, and thanks to WWE. A lot of auditioning. I got a lot of projects that I'm working on that I can't talk too much about, and also there might be a part 2 to damn why did I write this book too.
Hey, a lot of things going on with you, man. So that's really awesome. And in the book, you talk about the Cobra. So many things we didn't get a chance to touch up on. But for those listening, if they want to give you a shout out, if they want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
And you can holler at me on Twitter at JTG 1284. You can hit me up on Instagram, JTG 121084. The link to the bio is in both my bios and on both social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram. Cop the book while it's 99 cents. And because after that, it's going to go to $2.99 on Amazon.
There you go. So you got to get it right now. It's 99 cents. I have read it completely. It is awesome. It's definitely worth a read. So thank you, JTG, for being awesome, for being here, for most importantly, for just tolerating a lot of stuff, and not saying negative or good. I'm just saying that the life of a wrestler. I know it's really challenging, but you lasted 8 years in that. You're doing a lot of stuff. So on behalf of the Byte That team, thank you. Stay awesome, and do yourself a favor, people. Damn, why do you write that book? Because it's awesome. So check it out, and thank you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Cheers.